All right, guys. Well, here we are. It is 4 in the morning. This is going to be a $20 tier. I feel like I've neglected this tier. I feel like I've just neglected Patreon as a whole, the last 2 months or so. It hasn't been on purpose. Believe me, I want to keep everything going that I have going. I've just been depressed. Who cares? You say it every fucking video. Take it on the chin. Stop being a bitch. All right. So, one thing I said is that I'm going to go back and, I have to go back and listen, figure out, where I'm at with different storylines. It's going to take, a whole day. That's what I plan on doing tomorrow, taking notes, kind of, mapping out the future, because my plan moving forward is I'm going to have consistency, Be working with Sinister more, doing stuff without Profit this week. A lot more guests are be coming on the show. I gotta take this shit seriously. I have to. I have a second kid coming. It's not about me, it's about my kid. So, with that being said, I've kind of just been doing stories that I feel like telling. I think that in a depressive state like I'm in, when I force myself to do stuff, it's not going to come out as well as I want it to. So sometimes I go back, I recycle old material. There's a reason for that. If it's a new material that you haven't heard before, if it's a new story, I know the mechanics of how to do it, and I don't want to fuck it up. If I'm not 100% into what I'm doing, there's a chance that I can fuck it up, and then I get mad at myself. I don't know, I'm weird, I'm over analytical. Oh, that's weird, you're a weird guy. No way. Hey, he's talking about how he's weird again. When he does this, yeah, I think it's weird too. What do you think? Weird? All right. Let's post a super hateful comment. Try to get him to relapse or kill himself or something. He's a fucking punk like that. All right. So now that we got that out of the system, I'm going to try this out. This is going to be a new storyline for the $20 tier. And the sex files, I think, was controversial. There are even people that said that it was creepy. Hey, you know what? I don't want to hear about you fucking chicks when you're in high school, because they're in high school too. Okay, I see that point. I guess it doesn't feel as creepy to me is because I was the one fucking them, and I was of age at the time. Or not of age, I was underage, just like them. But I guess that is weird. So, I was thinking about all the different storylines, and where do I go? What directions do I go to at this point? Without getting too repetitive. Yeah, there's only so many fucking stories I have. With that being said, I feel like as my channel evolved, there were things that I just glossed over. Maybe certain things didn't fit into a certain space for a storyline. So now, and I kind of I like Origins a lot. I like Shaky Jake Redux, which we will go back to in the month of August. I plan on really rebuilding myself, hardcore, where I'm posting on YouTube every day, where I'm posting on Patreon multiple times a day. $10 tiers getting the monologue, $10 and up. And there's just so much content. There's just so much stuff that nobody can complain. And I know that the number one complaint is that I don't do enough stories. I was trying to think of what the best storyline I could do was. I was on the phone with my friend. We were talking about my ex-wife. You are such a drug addict. That bitch. What did we call her? What was her name? Kylie, I think. So we called her, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I don't want to put her real name out there. Not that I care about her at all. Not that I care to protect her. I have slipped and said her real name before, but I don't know, whatever. She's a single mom. I'm not trying to complicate her life more than it needs to be. And this storyline I'm about to do is definitely going to do so. Because there's things that I left out about the doomed marriage sexually that are pretty interesting, pretty entertaining, if you ask me. I was just talking to my friend, and my friend was like, oh, hold on. He sneezed. I was like, what are you doing? It's like, nothing. When I'm being really entertained, I sneeze. It's just some nervous, weird shit that I do. Keep talking about her. was like, all right, weirdo, I gotta go do a video, man. Fucking creep. So I was talking to this dude, and he was telling me that I should do another storyline about her, but kind of like a sex files version of her, because there's a lot of stuff to look into there. So this is going to be called The Doomed Marriage Resex. It's like the doomed marriage, but it's with a sexual edge. It's violent and sexy. I'm already feeling better. Let's put this waste of a human on blast. So tell me if you like it. I'm just trying it out. If this isn't a storyline that you think I should keep going with, you know, there's plenty of other stuff that we can do, but I'm just trying to come up with like a real good storyline that people that are on the $20 tier are going to be like, oh, I wish I was on that. That sounds that sounds pretty entertaining. In fact, I have to fucking sneeze right now. All right, let's get into it. Fuck, dude. I got these weird ass like spider bites on like the top of my feet. Fucking, I don't even know what that is. It's like some sort of growth. My athlete's foot's like mutated into lumps on top of my feet. I don't know. It's weird. So, you know the story about how I met my ex-wife. And we'll kind of go into that a little bit because I think it's pertinent to what I'm about to tell you about her. So, of course, a little bit of redip, but I'll try to do as much original material about her as possible. Okay. So this brings it back to the summer, or around Valentine's Day of 2017. Early 2017, and I was living on Jeff's couch. And at that time, I was having a good time, actually. Jeff worked. I don't remember what his status was as far as, like, if he was dating. Because he had this on-again, off-again girlfriend, Callan, that we've talked about. I don't think he was with her then, or maybe they were doing a long-distance thing. Doesn't really matter. What was going on during that period of my life is I just signed with this literary agent, and I was just becoming an alcoholic. I've gone into that in the Doomed Marriage series, how Haley had taught me how to be an alcoholic, and then when I moved into Jeff's house, he would go to work all day, and as a classic alcoholic would say, I'd be like, you go to work, I'm going to sit by the old laptop, I'm going to cook up some shit to sell to my agent. She was having me write articles for magazines, like Vice, shit like that. Online zines and, I don't know, all sorts of, I was getting like paid like, she's like, look, 5,000 words, I can get you $80. Takes me like a month. I'm like, did you say $80? I'm there. And I'd like drink, and then I would just not write anything. So I wasn't making any money, although I was living off residual royalties from Wasting Talent at the time. It wasn't amounting to much. I think I was getting like $500 or $600 a month. And that would go to cigarettes. That would go to alcohol. And of course, Jeff had this little change box that he would keep like by like his coat rack by his front door. So he'd go to work and be like, yeah, man, I'm just going to be writing all day. He'd leave. I'd like scoop out some quarters from his change bowl. I'd walk up to the liquor store, buy a couple Mickey 40s, and I would get, oh my God, that's a gnarly spider. Jesus Christ. I almost feel like it'd be irresponsible not to kill this fucking thing. Hold on, sorry. I'll go the super pussy way and spray him with Raid. Ooh. Wow. That was a violent ending to that guy's life. Alright, so at that time, I really was living kind of like a bachelor life, right? I had a girlfriend, if you remember, the stripper girl that had a couple kids, and I was like commuting out to her place to have sex with her and pretend like I was a good dude. Yeah, I love your kids. Do they ever sleep? I'm just here to fuck. She's like, what do you say? I'm like, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm not a good guy. I told you that from the beginning. So that didn't last that long. I was on dating apps and started hooking up with some random girls around that time. Kind of weird stuff was happening. There was one Craigslist ad that I had responded to for cuck. That was weird as fuck. I was like all twacked out one morning. It was like 3 a.m. and some guy's like, yeah, man. I didn't know how he talked, but I just read the ad. It's like, yeah, man. You know, I ain't no weirdo or nothing, but I like watching my bitch get fucked by another dude. Here's my phone number. I like called him. I was like, yo, I'm on meth right now. I'm your dude. He's like, oh, I love meth, man. Come on, come over. I love you already. I go over to this guy's house. This guy is in like full on like cowboy attire. He's got like one of those like button up shirts with like the embroidered roses going up it. His wife was not hot, but I was on meth. I would have fucked a dude at that point. She wasn't bad, but no, she was pretty shot out, actually. I don't know. And like high, I thought she was okay. So I'm just gonna like take an educated guess and say she was probably a little below my standards. She wasn't overweight or anything, but she was like a male paisa. She had a mustache. She was a chick. She didn't have a dick or anything, but she was really skinny, like kind of like skeleton-ishly skinny. He's like, all right, man. Put her ankles on your shoulders, man, and fuck her. Now, this is the thing. I'd been up for like 3 days at the time. So they lived in this, I don't know, like a townhouse-style condo. Showed up there, and first of all, these people were completely filthy. Pack rack, shit everywhere. They're like the kind of people that like when McDonald's does like a promotion, if they have like Batman cups, they like keep the posters and they just have them rolled up everywhere. They just keep everything. It's just gross. It smelled like shit. It smelled like a fart in a jar. And I saw her, and he's like, what do you think, man? Is she bombastic or what? And I was like, I'm looking at her. I was like, that's a chick, right? He's like, hey, man, of course. Come on, man. Yeah, she is. Pretty sure I've been with her 9 fucking years. Be quite the shock if she wasn't. You know what I'm saying? He'd like laugh, like grunt, like a pig. I was like, ew. So he takes me to this like futon that like folded out. It was like a bed that came out. And so he's trying to direct me. So, all right, put the ankles over your shoulders. I couldn't get it up, right? I could not get my dick up. I think just because I was so twacked out. I'm one of those people where meth just doesn't work for me like that. And he's like, go down on her then, man. Come on. He's like, I'm fucking having you at my fucking house, man. This guy wasn't paying me. I was just horny, and I just wanted to cuck his fucking chick. It looked like a paisa guy, but I was like, oh, I'm so high, I don't even care. So I go down to eat her out, and she has like I guess, a racing stripe, but it was like really sloppy, so it was just like, looked like a caterpillar or something. And I go down, and it just stinks, right? I mean, I'm a dirtbag. Like, I'm the kind of guy, like, if I'm going to go down on a chick and it stinks, I'm just like, I'm so high on weed right now, I don't even, But I couldn't do it. I don't know. It was the combination of the dude and the cowboy. Oh, he, like, had unbuttoned his cowboy shirt a little bit. I think because he was getting hot and turned on. And I got down there, and, like, right as my nose got in, like, a close proximity, I just couldn't do it. I was like, he's like, You know how many other eligible Craigslist ad respondees could have been here in your position, and you won't lick my goddamn wife's pussy? And I was like, dude, I gotta be honest, she looks like a Paisa guy, A. Two, her pussy stinks. This chick is just like looking at me, like she looks bored. I'm like, do you work at Jack in the Box? She doesn't say anything. I ended up leaving. This guy was all pissed off about it. That was just one of like many weird sexual adventures that I had during that time. What the fuck is going on? My neck is like bleeding. My feet are bleeding. I have like some sort of bug infestation here. Someone's like, he's on meth, Marcel. He's AIDS. So I was like doing shit like that. I was on Tinder and, have girls come over all the time. Jeff started getting mad, because like he'd come home from work and I'd be like passed out with some chick on the couch and Mickey bottles everywhere. And it just got to a point where I think he was getting over my shit. Now at this time, my agent, who probably is on my Patreon, because I think she's weirdly obsessed with me. That's okay though. If that's the case, you're my friend, I guess. I mean, if I died, you'd probably cut my face off and wear it to parties and ask people if they had any non-alcoholic beers. But besides that, you're cool. She had this French deal, right? She had this French deal where this French company wanted to buy the rights to Wasting Talent. I forget what they had offered initially, but it was like low. It was like 2 G's or something. And she countered with 10, I think. And eventually they came back for 6,000. Now this was like just something that was kind of going on in the background. Right? I didn't even think it would happen. One night I'm eating out girls that look like Paisa boys. The next day I'm on international phone calls with French publishers and my agent, trying to land $10,000 for the French translation for Wasting Talent. So it just seemed like something that wasn't going to go down because I was such a scumbag. I was like, translation deals don't happen to scumbags like me. Around this time, I end up getting the Facebook message from Kylie, my ex-wife. Now, as I've told this story before, it had gone into the Facebook folder of messages of people that you don't actually know. So I hadn't seen it. She wrote me like a year before. She said, hey, I'm a big fan of Wasting Talent. It's my favorite book. I just wanted you to know that you killed it. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever it was. I'm looking through this. One day I'm in this folder. I don't know. I was probably just bored, drunk at Jeff's. And I find it. And the smoke. I feel like I can talk more freely out there about shit like this anyway. I click on her picture, because she was a blonde girl. And, I'd say that I'm probably more into brunettes than blondes. But with that being said, I don't think there's any girl that I'm not attracted to. I think brunettes would probably be my first go-to, right? Find redheads, brunettes, blondes, Hispanic, black, Asian, doesn't matter. A beautiful woman's a beautiful woman. And I'm at the point in my life where personality means something to me. Yeah, right. I just care about the body. All right. Anyway. No, I'm kidding. I do care about the personality. But I click on her picture, and she's good looking. She's got huge fake tits, I could tell. She had a real girl next door quality to her. So I friend request her. Or maybe she had, and I accept the friend request. And I message her back, and I was like, hey, I didn't see this. And we strike up a conversation. Started talking a little bit. She asked me where I live. Now, at the time, I was in Santa Barbara. But before that, when I was with Casey, my ex, I'd been living in LA. So I still had LA on my profile. I was like too ashamed that I'd failed, and I was like sleeping on my best friend's couch. And she was like, I love LA. She's like, you know, I used to live there, and maybe next time I'm in LA, we could have a drink. I was like, yeah, I'd love that. And she's like, or we could take ecstasy in a motel. So instantly I already knew that it was sexual, right? And I was like, oh yeah, we should do that. So me and her start talking, right? This turns into this like whirlwind long distance courtship where I'm talking to her on the phone. You know the story. And eventually I fly her out, and we do ecstasy, we do GHB, we do cocaine, whatever. We go on a couple of these like drug-fueled benders all over LA because I just got that French translation money. Now, after we got married, this was like a little period where I was clean off heroin. I've probably been clean like a month, 2 months. Remember, I had just gotten out of detox, and then I got kicked out of a sober living, and that's why I'd moved in with Jeff. The night we got married, I went and I relapsed on heroin. She didn't know that. I didn't know much about her. I knew that she had a little boy, and I was okay with that. You know, to me, I was like, oh, all right, insta family. You know, I was so bored with the monotony of my life, and I was really attracted not just to her looks, but one thing that I've always find attractive with women is if they're good listeners and like seem genuinely interested in me. I almost need like a therapist type dynamic with a woman that I'm romantically involved with. Karina and I do not have that, by the way. She does not give a fuck about my problems. And that's actually why I like her, because it kind of separates her from other women I've been with. We have a much more healthy, kind of stable thing. Even though we've had problems recently, we've ironed them out. So I knew she had a kid, and she told me that she worked as an executive assistant for a company in Little Rock. Or is it Little Rock? I don't know. Whatever. Not Little Rock. Whatever the town that Columbine had happened. Littleton or something. She worked at some company, and she's making like $80,000 a year. I knew that she was a party girl. I knew that she liked to party, because the 2 times she'd come out to LA, she'd partied with me. And I'll just say this. Up until Karina, she was the best sex I ever had. You know, I mean, we'll go into that a bit, you know, because I think that's important for this series. Let me take it back to the first day I met her, just so you get like an idea of what it was like before I went out to Denver. Because when it went to Denver, things got creepy and things got weird between us. I don't know if I've ever gone into that stuff explicitly, but I was just telling my friend about it, and he's like, you gotta talk about that on a Patreon video for upper tiers, because that's pretty wild shit. It was almost impossible for me to find ecstasy. I wasn't in that scene anymore. So I had to drive around LA and, you know, basically get it from people that I didn't even know before that. But I got ecstasy. I got Molly, Moon Rocks, which is like, you know, a certain way that MDMA is synthesized, and they come in these little kind of sap-looking rocks. And I got GHB, and I had cocaine. You know, she was just expecting me to have ecstasy. She didn't know I was going to have GHB and coke. So when I pick her up at the airport, I remember I started getting really nervous. I stayed at my pro skater friend's house the night before. He tried some of the ecstasy, so he was like rolling. I didn't do any the night before, but he told me it was really good, so I knew it was good. So the next day, I go and I'm nervous. I have a couple drinks before I go to the airport. And, you know, I have to pick her up at the United terminal. At the time, I had my X5 BMW. So I had a nice car, and I just got $6,000, and I paid for her to come out. She lands. She's like, all right, I'm here. And I walk up to the terminal, and I see her coming down an escalator. She's wearing tight blue jeans. She's wearing a wife beater. She had these humongous, gargantuan tits. And she had a backwards trucker's hat on. And she sees me, and I see her, and I run up to her, and we start making out right away. Decent kisser. I mean, you know, I don't even know if I really rate girls' kisses at this point in my life. I'm just a scumbag, but decent kisser. We walk back to the car, and I'm holding her hand. It's really weird because before she'd come out, we had talked about like how I was going to marry her, and it was just like we were talking cuckoo nonsense before she ever even got out there. I tell her that I have ecstasy in the car. And she's like, ooh, she's like, I cannot wait to do that with you. It's like 9:30 in the morning on like a Tuesday. We go to the parking lot, get in my car, and I show her the GHB, which was in a water bottle at an 8-ball blow. And I show her like, you know, had like a gram or two of Molly with the moon rock. I was like, you want to do a line right now? She's like, fuck yeah. Kind of hard to even imagine her this way when just a few months later, you are such a drug addict. But then she was still cool, Kylie, party girl. So I end up crushing up the moon rocks. You know, you can do it with your credit card. The rocks kind of crumble into powder, and then you can snort it, like, you know, do lines of it like you would anything. Me and her do these humongous rails, right? They burn really bad. We chase it with a shot of GHB. So GHB just comes in a water bottle. You put it in a cap, take a little sip, feel it within 15 minutes, and it makes girls really horny. It makes guys really horny. You know, if you take a small amount of it, it doesn't make you pass out. You know, it just gives you this great body high and you feel drunk. It works great in conjunction with MDMA. So we do the line, take the GHB, and we get in the car. Or, I mean, we're already in the car, but we start driving is what I mean. And I swear to God, it would probably, you know, after we did the line, we probably talked for 10 minutes. We're leaving, and you have to pay this, you know, the ticket booth for the parking ticket. Or, you know, when you go in, you get a ticket in the parking lot. You have to pay that. So I'm going to pay it, and I just feel the ecstasy kick in. It starts tingling my balls. I start getting really, really horny. And I look at her and I go, look, I'm not trying to be so forward, but I need to take you to a motel and fuck you immediately. And she looked at me with this very, like, coy smile. And she's like, okay. God, looking back, this girl was not worth this trouble, for sure. But time I felt like I'd won the lottery. You know, it's been a while since I'd, like, had a girl that I thought that I was that attracted to and that I liked that much. You know, I mean, truth be told, I was still kind of in, you know, heartbreak mode from Casey. You know, she had only left me, you know, in August. You know, it's February now, so it was still pretty fresh. And I was like, do you feel the Molly? She's like, yeah. And I put my hand in the passenger seat, kind of crawl down her jeans, unbutton them, start fingering her. She's purring like a cat. This is like as I'm like with the ticket person. I'm like, yeah, here you go. I like give my debit card. By the time we get out of the parking lot, we're in South LA, Inglewood, and we're driving around looking for a hotel. Now, sometimes it's hard to get a hotel at 10 in the morning like that. It was like 9:30 when I picked her up, probably about 10 now. Usually a lot of places won't even give you a room until after 3 o'clock. So we go to the first place. My eyes are huge. I'm rolling balls. Her eyes are huge. I'm wearing a flannel button-up that's completely open. So, I look like some drugged out rock star, and she looks like some prostitute. And turns out she was. And we go up to this motel, and I ask if they have a room. Asian people. They go, no, not until 3 o'clock. That was the first place. The ecstasy is just getting more and more intense body highs. I just want to hug her and fall into a puddle of cum that I make. Whoa, hold on, let me make this puddle of cum. All right, let's fall into it. Whoa. I can't even swim out of it, so much cum. Get to the second hotel, and they'll rent us the room, right? So we pay for it. We go in, and I swear to God, I had the little plastic card, stick it in the door, and she walks in before me, and I'm closing the door behind me, and I turn around, she's just butt naked. She definitely had a playmate body. If you remember the Girl Next Door issues, where it just looked like, they didn't look like super dolled up girls, all airbrushed. They looked like normal girls you'd meet at a college or something. And she was butt naked, and she was licking her lips, like a straight up whore. I was like, and I took off my clothes and cupped my little dick. I was like, ooh. No, I was definitely got hard. Now she went and she got upside down on the bed and kind of hung her head upside down. And she's like, just come and fuck my face. I was like, all right. I go over, I do that, and we probably have sex for a good hour. I last for an hour. On ecstasy, I can always last for a long time. It was mind-blowing. It's I hadn't connected with somebody like that sexually, probably since Kate. So I was just in love, right? Or at least I thought I was. So the rest of the trip goes like that. And it kind of devolved into a coke bender towards the end of that first trip. Remember, we got married on the second trip. She came back only a week later. But at the end of the trip, and this is why I'm bringing it up, because I think that this kind of foreshadows what was to come, we started doing a lot of coke, and we go and we rent some motel, and we're there, we have sex a bunch of times. It was the kind of thing where it just never got boring. And she was like, we should go to a sex store, and we should go get toys. I was like, okay. Go to a store, and we get anal beads, and we get handcuffs. Go back to the motel, and we start playing with the anal beads. Now, I don't know. Some people may think that's a silly thing. Some of you may have used them. But what you do, it looks like these little, whatever they're called, the religious beaded necklaces. And you stick them in a girl or guy's butthole. And as you have sex, you plop each one out. You can, like a ripcord. And that anal stimulation is supposed to intensify an orgasm. So we're playing with that. But then we start playing with the handcuff. And she's like, okay, let's do role play. I was like, okay. She's like, cuff me from the back. I was like, all right. I cuff her. I'm being all polite about it. I'm like, is this too tight? She's like, shut up. Just use me like a rag doll. I was like, all right. Make them tight. I was like, so what do you want to do? And she's like, okay. She gets all theatrical on me. She's like, check it out. I just got a cab ride from you. You're a cab driver. You're Middle Eastern. You have an accent. You smell like shit. I was like, do I smell like shit? She's like, you have a unibrow, so it works. You smell like shit. You gave me a ride. And guess what? I was like, what? I can't pay for it. So now you've cuffed me in some deserted driveway, some abandoned building in lower Detroit, and you're fucking me handcuffed. I was like, all right, well, I don't consider myself a prude. So I do the Middle Eastern accent. I'm like, you have no money to pay for the taxi fare ride that I give you? You fucking slut, fucking slapper. She's like, ah. I was like, yeah, you stupid white slut. Get out of here, you stupid white slut. I was like, now you know what you need to do. It doesn't even matter what you want, or what you need, because I'm just gonna do what I like to, because I am a Middle Eastern cab driver and I give no fucks about you because you're white. She's like, stop saying the white thing. It's throwing me off. I was like, all right. So I pretend to be this cab driver. Fuck her. We do various other stuff. I'm the doctor that's giving her the breast cancer exam, and I cuff her to the desk. I was like, you stupid bitch. Trusting me with your exam. What were you thinking? Don't you know that I have a PhD from Texas A&M? She's like, Texas A&M? I'm like, yeah. That's a place, right? She's like, shut, you are fucking killing it. Come on, try harder. You're a doctor raping me during an exam. It's pretty serious. I was like, okay. So we do shit like that, right? So that's the first trip. It's important for you to know these things because the evolution of her was just absolutely mind-blowingly weird. The second time she comes out is when we get married. And by that point, I relapse on heroin, and heroin makes me way less sexual. So it's like, it like wasn't as kinky as it was the first time. So after we get married, remember, we'd been up for like days. We're on a coke bender. I think we both kind of realized like what we had done. Oh my God, we're married. We should probably fuck. I'm like, all right. So she has to leave because she's got this executive assistant job back in Denver. I'm on federal probation at the time, kind of like stuck. But what was interesting is during that period, my PO hadn't checked in with me for like a month. Maybe even longer. Ugh. Ugh. Oh my God, that was so gross. There's a fucking fly in my water. Ugh. That is so disgusting. I'm so sorry that you had to witness that. There's a fucking fly in my water. Ugh. There's like spitting everywhere. Oh my God, that was so gross. Oh. Ugh. I think I'm gonna throw up. That was so fucking disgusting. Oh my God. It's the second time that's happened to me at this house. Ugh. Sorry guys, that was little intermission. Oh my God. That is so fucking gross. Ew. Ugh. Ugh. I feel so violated. Ew. Wow. That was disgusting. Oh my God. All right. Oh, God, that was gross. I took a sip out of water, and then I looked, and there was just a fly floating in it. And then I spit all over the floor just to make it even grosser. I was like, fuck, it's already gross. I'm going to make it even grosser. Oh, that was so gross. Ew. All right. So anyway, after we realized that we were married and I was kind of stuck out there, she'd gone back to her job. I had to, oh, that's so gross. I decided to fly out there. And I don't know if you remember this story, but it's pretty funny. And I'll go into it, because it's a short little story. But around that time, I blew through that $6,000. Riggy Mars had introduced me to this drug dealer, this dude that he had pistol whipped, this guy named Sam. Sam was selling like a shitload of LSD. He had liquid Xanax. He had a bunch of shit. And I don't know, I had like a little bit of money left, so I decided to buy some vials of acid, liquid Xanax, drugs that I could take with me to Denver because I was planning on going out there. I wanted to flip the money so that I could like just keep so I had it run out completely. Whatever money I had left, I put like some sort of down payment down on the drugs, and he fronted me a bunch. I had a ticket to fly out to Denver. The night before, Kylie had hit me up and told me that she wanted me to bring Coke. She's like, bring some of that good LA Coke. I was like, all right. Now, the last time that she was there, we needed it. We couldn't get it. I wasn't as like plugged into the LA drug scene at that time. It's not like how it is, I guess, nowadays. And I called a bunch of people and I couldn't get powder Coke. So we ended up going down to Skid Row. We met some black dude down there and he sold powder. It was pretty decent. That was when we did the cab driver role play shit. And so she had asked me to grab some. So I had this liquid Xanax. It was like in like a little, quarter pint of Jack Daniels. I filled up the liquid Xanax in that. I had that in my drink holder. And I went to go meet up with the guy to get an 8-ball. Now, in Santa Barbara and in other places, you call cocaine white, right? Some people call crystal meth that. Some people call China white heroin that. So sometimes, regionally, different slang words mean different things in the drug world. So I'd asked this guy for $100 a white, thinking I was going to get an 8-ball of Coke. And when he hooks it up, it ends up being an 8-ball or $100 worth of China white heroin, whatever that was. Gives it to me. I pay him. As I'm leaving, I want to do a bump. I open the bag and I look at it. And it's kind of off-white. I knew right away that it was China white. I tasted it, knew what it was. End up going to a pharmacy to get clean needles. And I'm cooking up a shot on this can after I get the rigs. I'm all set to fly the next morning. And this cop is parked in the parking lot. He stopped. He has his lights on. He's shining his flashlight at me, as I'm cooking up heroin. So I end up putting everything I can under the seat, but I still have this little quarter pint full of the liquid Xanax. And for some reason, I just pound it. I mean, it just looked like liquor, but I didn't want him to think I was drinking and driving. As he's walking towards me, duck down and just pound this whole thing of liquid Xanax. It's probably that much. It's probably equivalent to 5 or 6 Xanax bars, maybe even more. 8 probably. Probably 8 Xanax bars. Kind of asks me what I'm doing, talk my way out of it. Kind of gives me a warning, don't do sketchy shit in pharmacy parking lots. He leaves. I do my shot of China white, and I end up I don't remember anything past that. I just wake up the next morning in the parking lot of my hotel with the horn blaring because somehow I'd made it back to my motel, but I was probably so fucked up from the liquid Xanax that I just passed out on the steering wheel. It's like I had like a flight in like an hour or two or whatever, and I ended up missing the flight 3 times. Then I get air marshaled off of one of the flights because I'm too drunk. You guys know this story. But the reason I'm telling it again is when I finally do get into Denver, Kylie's roommate, so she lived in this like really big house. You know, this chick, she had a roommate named Lori, and Lori owned this like really big 4-bedroom house in Denver. Kylie was renting 2 bedrooms, one for herself, one for her son. She had a good job. She's making $8,000 a year, and Lori was like some like chick with a stick up her ass, right? And she had Googled me. And this is really before I had a bunch of press. Like nowadays I have Huffington Post, Penthouse, bigger stuff, newspapers. Back then I had just been in like a couple of like art magazines, like Honeysuckle. But she had read one of the articles about how, you know, I sold heroin for a drug cartel, and how I used to leave rehab with girls, and how one had overdosed and died. And she's like, I blame him for the death. So she told Kylie, she's like, do not bring this guy to my house. She was dating a cop at the time. She was like very anti-me at that moment. So I had missed 3 flights before I got out there. And all this drama was happening while I was missing the flight. So I didn't even know that I was like unwelcomed at Kylie's house. But when I end up getting there and I land, this is the first time. This is before I brought the LSD with me. Because I remember I went there twice. This is the first time. And when I land, Kylie tells me what's going on. She's like, look, my roommate knows that you used to sell heroin for a Mexican drug cartel and that you've killed girls. And I was like, I haven't killed any girls. She's like, what about the one that overdosed? She knows about it. She knows everything. You shouldn't have told that stupid art magazine that you're a killer and a drug dealer. I was like, dude, I'm not even a killer. So she's like, we need to go get a hotel. Now, I don't remember why, but for some reason, I was in like some super horny like fit. It was almost as if I was tweaking or cracked out, but I wasn't. You know, I was just on this liquid Xanax. I think maybe that was still in my system. But I remember we got this little dive motel. It was like a biker motel. It was like parking lot was like 30 Harleys, and then like her little I don't even remember what kind of car she had. It was like a little Honda or something. And so we hole up in this motel. She put her kid, you know, with a babysitter. So we get to this motel, and I'm just like a sexual deviant, you know. I think I was still a little blacked out from the Xanax, but I do remember this pretty clearly. We get in there, and me and her, I will say this about her. She was a nympho, right? She was a nymphomaniac. And she was like one of the only women that I've ever been with in my life that could keep up with me sexually. Karina is super generous. You know, she likes sex a lot too. And she, even if she's like not really like in the mood for it, she'll like do it to make me happy. Even though I don't like when she does that, because I always tell her, like, if she's not into it, it makes me not into it. But she's cool like that. But this particular time, I don't know if I've ever told this. This particular time, we have sex like 3-4 times. And I'm like possessed by some like weird sex spirit or something at this point. I'm like, let's watch porn. One thing about Kylie is she loved porn. You know, Karina likes porn too, but like Kylie really loved it. She knew all the names of the different porn stars, probably because she was one. Well, she was like really into it. This was like one of her big hobbies. So we start watching one, and I remember the girl that we were watching, like, she picked the porn star out. She's like, let's watch this one. We're watching this girl get fucked in the ass. And I remember I was like, oh my God, I was like, look how nice that fucking ass is. I'm like choking her as I'm saying that. She was really into rough sex. And I'm like choking her as she's saying that, as I'm saying this. I'm like, look at that fucking ass, look at it. I'm like grabbing her face. And usually she was like into what I was saying, but this is, I think, the first time that I really noticed there was something off with her. Because the whole time that we'd been having sex before this point, she was really freaky. She was into this rough sex. She didn't get jealous about other girls. She was turned on about other girls. In this particular time, when I said that, she pushed me off of her. And I was like, I thought she was playing, so I went to go push her back, and she slapped me like as hard as she could, like backhanded me across the face. Now, she had these like long acrylic nails, and it cut my face. It made like these like 3 little lines. It hurt. I was like bleeding. I was like, what the fuck? And she's like, don't ever say a girl's ass is nice to me again. My dad used to do that, you piece of shit. I was like, huh? Really threw me off. Upset her. She got dressed. She's like, I just want to go to sleep now. She had work the next day, right? We'd been like having sex for like 6-7 hours at this point. I remember laying up in bed and kind of like thinking about what had just transpired. I was like, God, that was really weird. You know, like, I mean, we'd watch porn in LA, and I'd commented on how hot the girls were or whatever, which is something she told me she liked. And she just completely flipped the script on me. It was very odd. Next morning, wake up. She gives me her car. And she tells me basically go kill time throughout the day. Can't go to her place. But she goes, yeah, come back here and have sex with me during my lunch break. I was like, all right. So if you remember, my glassblower friend, Happy, and his girlfriend had moved out to Denver. So I'd already, you know, hooked up with them via Facebook, told them I needed something, because by this point I was strung out. You know, that, which is another reason I thought it was odd that I was like so perverted, but she really brought that side of me out. So I go meet up with Happy, they get me well, and I end up going back to her place for work. She's like, yeah, we can either go get a bite to eat. She's like, I have an hour, or I have this spot we can go and we can fuck in the car. It's up to you. I'm like, okay, let's go to the spot so that we can have sex. She's like, okay. So we drive to this like pretty abandoned area. It's like this like housing development area, you know, where they're making like those cookie cutter houses that all look the same. You know, they're like under construction, hadn't been made yet. We pull up to this lot. And I've always been a jealous type. So like instantly I'm thinking, oh my God, how many guys has she brought to this housing development place to have sex on her lunch break? But I was so horny it didn't even matter. We crawl in the back seat. You know, we're making out and everything. And she starts whispering to me, and she's like, I'm sorry, Daddy. And she's like licking the side of my face, and she's like whispering out the side of my, you know, to my ear. I'm sorry, Daddy. And I'm like, sorry about what? And she's like, I'm sorry that I freaked out on you last night. She's like, sometimes I just get really insecure. You're just such a hot guy, and I'm so scared of losing you. She's like, but I thought of a way that I can make it up to you. And I was like, okay, what's that? She goes into her purse. She gets like at this point I'd like unbuttoned her dress, her tits were hanging out. She goes into her purse and she pulls out some Astroglide. Like she just had anal lubrication like in her purse. Another red flag for sure. She's like, come on, get out of the car. Now, she's wearing a dress, not a skirt. She's wearing a dress. Get out of the car. She bends over the hood, takes down her underpants, lubes me up, and I'm fucking her in the ass. While, like, this is like noon. It's like noon on like a work day. Anybody could have driven up. You know, there was like the highway right next to us, and definitely from the vantage point of the highway, you could see what we were doing. It was very weird. Just thrusting her, butt fucking her. And she starts whimpering, you know, little sniffles. And I'm like, hey, am I hurting you? And she's like, I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm sorry. Please, I just gotta feel you come so I know that you're okay. The whole daddy thing, the first time she called me that was like 10 minutes before that. We were making on the back of her car when she was kissing me and whispering in my ear that she was sorry, Daddy. Honestly, I was so turned off by like her crying and me thinking I was hurting her that I couldn't even finish. And I kind of started going soft a little bit. I was also high on heroin. I couldn't finish. She's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? She's like, God, you're so worthless. You can't even fuck me right on my lunch break. She like hikes her panties back up, puts her, you know, gets her dress straight down. She's like, drive me back to work. It's like, I can't believe that you can't even fuck me right. I was trying to be a cool wife to you, and here you are just being a selfish asshole, not finishing. She's like, all I wanted to do was go back to work and feel your cum drop out of me on the toilet bowl. I'm like so high on heroin at that point that I'm just like, oh, this is all normal, whatever. So I end up going back to Happy's. Same routine happens the next like 2-3 days that I'm out there. Go hang out with Happy and his girlfriend all day, take her car around, and go pick her up at her lunch break. One of the times we went to Chili and got drinks and ate. Other 2 times we just had regular sex in the back of the car. So, one of the days, this is probably like the 4th day, I had to pick her up after work, because that's what I'd been doing. Like, I'd pick her up at lunch, it was whatever, and then after lunch, you know, I'd go spend time at Happy's, and then I'd come back at the end of the day, pick her up. This particular time, my phone died, and I didn't have a charger. So I go to pick her up, and she doesn't pick the phone up. Or, I mean, she's not there when I go to pick her up. And I don't have a phone, it's not charged. So I'm like, fuck. I wait there for like good 30-40 minutes. Don't know what to do. This is a huge office complex with a lobby. Walk into the lobby, and there's a girl working at the desk. And I go, hi, my name's Ryan Leone. My wife works here, and my phone died, so she has no way of contacting me. Can you tell me which office she works in? The lady's like, all right, well, what's her name? And I was like, Kylie Leone. So we had just got married. She's like, I don't have anyone named Kylie Leone that's working here. I was like, well, we just got married. Maybe try her maiden name. She's like, okay, what's her maiden name? I couldn't remember. And I was like, I'm not sure. And the girl gives me like the weirdest look. Like, I don't know my own wife's maiden name. She goes, okay, well, what company does she work for? And I go, I don't know the answer to that either. And she's just looking at me totally perplexed, puzzled. She's like, well, I can't help you if you don't have the kind of information I need to be able to look your wife up. I was like, I'm sorry, I know it sounds weird, but I only knew her a week before I married her. Married her because she was a fan of this novel I wrote about heroin addiction. So I don't know her that well. Now she's looking at me even more puzzled. There's like this little like waiting area with like couches that you can sit in. So I was like, well, can I just sit on the couch and kind of wait, see if she shows up so I don't have to sit in the car? She's like, yeah, that's fine. I sit there like another 15, 20 minutes, and finally Kylie comes down the elevator. She's like, babe, I left you like a million messages. I have to work overtime today. It was probably like 7 o'clock. Usually she got off at 6. She's like, yeah, I have to work for another hour. She's like, since I couldn't get a hold of you, I figured you might be here, so I came down to look for you. I was like, all right, well, I didn't really know what to say at that point, It was like, kind of just irritated. I wanted to go home, back to the motel room. I had a little bit of dope on me. It was like in the trunk of the car. Remember, I'm on federal probation. I'm in a state that I'm not supposed to be in. All I wanted to do was have her drive me back. Every time that I drove without her, I was taking a big risk. So she's like, babe, why don't you come with me up to my office? Just got a little bit more work to do. Maybe I can be out of here in the next 30 minutes. Because I think she could tell that I was annoyed. We go up to her office and she's showing it to me. Probably like 7, different offices. Glass windows, doors, job titles on the door. Showed her name. Said executive assistant. And she's just like, here, you can like get on the computer, maybe play one of the games. I'm like, oh, maybe they have Minecraft. Just kind of like looks at me. So I'm like sitting there doing whatever I'm doing on the computer. And she comes up to me. There's nobody else there. It's just me and her. And she's like, hey, I know. Let's role play. And you pretend that you're my boss, Alan. And I want you to fuck me on his desk. And I want you to fuck me in my ass on his desk. And I was like, now we're talking. Now, whatever horniness I had when I first got there had kind of like gone down at this point. Because I was all strung out again. And I wasn't on like other drugs to tug me in a different direction. So she takes me into this big office. It's definitely like, the boss's. It's the biggest office there. The name's on there. It's like Alan Dwightberg or whatever. It's like some super like fancy name. She has her purse. Takes out the Astroglide. She takes out handcuffs. Right? And so she's like, handcuff me. And we're going to do a role-playing situation where you caught me here looking at dirty pictures after hours. You cuffed me because I'm a bad, bad girl. I'm all like strung out, so I'm not into it. I'm just like, oh, all right. So I cuff her and I bend her over this like, this glass desk. There's a bunch of papers scattered across it. Handcuff her. Lube her up. I'm having a hell of a time getting my dick up, right? Just because I'm loaded on heroin. So instead of fucking her, I start fingering her. And I was like making her laugh. I was like, yeah, I'm Alan, and I'm such an old boss that my dick doesn't even work, so I'm just gonna have to finger bang you against your will. She's like, oh my God, I love you so much, Daddy. So I'm like really thrusting really fucking hard. Right? She's like bent over, cuffed, got her dress hiked up. She's like, yeah, finger me, Alan. Finger me, you dirty fucking office slut. Am I a dirty office slut? I was like, yeah, you're a dirty office slut. She's like, fuck me harder, Alan. And she like has her eyes closed. I just keep thrusting my fingers into her. And we hear, what in the actual fuck? She turns around, she's beat red, right? She's handcuffed. This looks so bad. And there's this black dude, security. He's got headphones on, and his mouth is just absolutely slack because he's looking at something that probably looked a lot more perverted than it was, or maybe it was. Maybe that was just some soulless dope fiend. But she's bent over this office. I'm fingering her as she's handcuffed. And he just goes, what in the actual fuck? And we will get into how this gets resolved in her office building in the next installment of Doomed Marriage Resex. Thank you guys. Palabra.